Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Tea Time with THinds. I see I got my teacup here, and I want to read what it says. It's something that my mom not just used to say, but it was her lyric from her first album, and it says, "In spite of the odds," and I go on living, and I thought that was such a powerful statement. I would like to start off with what Tea Time with T. Hinds is. A lot of people don't know what that is. It's fairly new. It's new to me. And I just want to say that I feel like God has been leading me in another direction. Everybody knows me to be a singer or a musician. And that's not all I am. So I just wanted to start a channel where I'm able to show a different side of me, but also show, or rather help other people with different forms of healing, whether it be through different forms of art. It can be through singing. It could be through any type of music, musical instrument. It could be through drama. It can be through your form of art, if it's sculpture. Many people don't realize that there are different forms of healing, and there's no name yet. There's no name. Well, there's a name I have in mind, names I have in mind, but I'm still waiting on confirmation, so pray for me. But all that to say, this channel is going to be about different forms of healing for people with trauma, stress, depression, anxiety, like myself. And I've gone through a number of things where I felt like I could only talk to certain people, and it shouldn't be that way. But unfortunately, that's how life is sometimes. You feel like, what I'm going through, nobody else will understand. And no one else can relate to it. Or they're going to look at me a certain way if I tell them what I'm dealing with. And it shouldn't be that way. And then when we do go through these traumatic experiences, whether it be from childhood or in our teenage years, or as adults, we don't actually sit and assess what they are, and we don't evaluate them. We don't try to understand, well, how did we get to that point? And some of us can't afford therapy. Some of us can't, or feel like we can't reach out to talk to certain people because we already have a perception of certain people in our minds that they're going to look at us a certain way. And I just want to create this page where it's able to help other people express themselves in various ways, and they're still getting healing out of it at the same time. Best of both worlds. This segment is called Tea Time with T. Hinds because, of course, when you say tea time as a concept, it's almost like you're spilling the tea, basically, of somebody else's life, or you're talking about someone else's business. But this time we're going to talk about me. But I made that face because if y'all knew my mother, she was very private, and if you knew my grandmother, she was extra extra private. And I'm kind of both on their ends. Anyway, this segment is to hopefully be relatable to anyone who's listening, anybody who's going through certain things. And I kind of wanted to introduce myself since a lot of people really don't know who I am. So I'm going to start with the first question. We're going to do a few questions, and then after that, I'm going to give you a scripture afterwards that ties in with the questions. And then that'll be it. So every first Sunday, that's what we're going to be doing. All right, so question number 1. How did I become a Christian, basically, and what basically made me believe in God? And to start off with that, I honestly believed in God, but I think I got angry with him when my cousin passed away. And I was about 17. It was during my 17th birthday. And I saw him 2 days before my birthday, and my last words to him was, "I love you." And didn't know that I wasn't going to see him after that. But he was the kind of cousin who was really like a big brother. His name is Christopher Claude Clark. and he always looked out for me. It didn't matter what, whether it be with events, whether it be with certain things in life. I could talk to him about pretty much anything. And he was my big brother. And he wanted to be a police officer. And the same, thinking about it, it hurts to think about it, but at the same time, I'm smiling because of that's kind of where I met God. So I'll get to that point. So what happened was he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He ended up passing away. I don't want to go too much into detail about how, but he ended up passing away, and it was 2 days after my birthday. And I was really devastated and upset with God. And when I found out, I was rehearsing for a choir competition at Milford Mill at the time. And I went into my room and I was upset. And I said, God, if you're real, as everybody keeps saying you are, I need you to prove it. Because I'm upset that you would take somebody like him away. Why not take all these other people in the world that are, doing the worst, that are raping people, that are killing each other? Why not take them and allow the people who are actually doing right or trying to change the world live? And I said, I need you to prove to me that you're real. I'd never read the Bible unless I was at church, y'all. It's just, that was one of I was a little rebellious child. And when I was in that moment, I said, God, I don't pick up the Bible often unless I'm at church or Friday night worship with grandma and the family. So if you're real, show me a scripture that I've never heard of, but I'll recognize what it says or understand what it means when I hear it. And long and behold, I literally closed my eyes. I got on my knees. I flipped open my Bible and I pointed. And it landed on Proverbs 3 verses 5 through 6. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it basically says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. That was the first encounter that I had with God, where I asked him to basically prove himself, which he doesn't need to do. But in that moment, I needed it, and he did. And I was like, okay, all right, you got that one. And I started to talk to him more and more because I wanted to really know he was there. I was at that point where I was just like, I need some type of understanding. And what God told me back then, at age 17, I asked him, why did you allow him to pass away? And why do you let people like that go, or allow those things to happen and allow the people who do wrong to live? And he said, the people who do wrong didn't come out the womb that way. They had to go through a lot of things in order to become, that person. And that's not all who they are. And the people who have lived a great life, who have made a difference in the family, who have held the people, the family members together, sometimes he'll allow certain things to happen so that they were no longer used as a crutch, if that makes sense. Sometimes in our family, we lean on other people, or even friends. We lean on them so much that we don't realize that we can stand on our own 2 feet, of course, with God's help. But because we're so used to leaning on them, we don't take the time to realize our own strength, our own giftings and talents, and we don't discover who we are when they're around. And unfortunately, I'm not saying God just says, okay, I'm going to smite them. That's not him. That's not how God works. I'm saying that some things he'll allow to happen because there's something in you that needs to be birthed. There's something in you that needs to grow and evolve, and it needs to be revealed for yourself and even for other people. Your giftings are not for yourself. All that to say, when God basically told me that, I think I gained a better understanding of who God was back then, because I felt like he was just this God that if you don't do right, he's going to strike you down and that's it. It's not how he works. And I started developing a relationship way back then at age 17. I'll tell you other stories that happened between that time and now a little later, maybe next tea time. I hope that was helpful. The next question that I have is, what are my insecurities and my strengths? Now, I wrote these questions down, but I didn't answer them ahead of time, so you're getting my reaction. My insecurities and my strengths. I've been insecure since I was a child. My insecurities were always about my future and about just confidence in doing anything. And it's not like my mom and family didn't encourage me and say, you're beautiful and you know you're amazing. They didn't, you know, hold back any positive affirmations for my life. It's just that I felt like I needed it in a different way, and I wasn't sure as to how yet. And my mom was a young mom when she had me, so she did what she could, and I'm not saying that she didn't do her best. I think I've come a long way, but I feel like my insecurities stem from the things I would hear from certain family members at that time as a child, or some from kids at school who would pick on me, and I would always hear the word weird, or something's wrong with you. And my mom, she was a single mom. She wasn't gonna buy me all these expensive, clothing or anything like that. Like shoes back then, what was it, like Converse, All Star, Jordans. Like if you didn't have that, you were, you know, considered a poor kid or a poor child or whatever they want to call it. And that's pretty much how they looked at me. I didn't bother anybody, I didn't trouble anyone. And I got insecure because I'm like, if my family members are calling me weird back then, and if these kids that I barely even know are calling me weird, then I just must be flat out weird. And then it didn't matter what school I went to, I was always getting picked on. So I definitely was like, oh yeah, there's something wrong with me. I don't know what it is, but there's something wrong with me. And I developed that kind of like concept of something was wrong. And I think that's what started my insecurities as a child. Fast forward to my strengths, I think because I went through all of those things, I learned how to love myself because of certain things. Like music helped me to express myself. Drama helped me to be confident on stage. Writing down lyrics and poems in my classrooms, even when class was over, I would still be writing things down and my feelings. That was my way of getting words out when I felt like I couldn't speak to anybody. And I felt like that helped build my confidence. And I didn't know, though, at that time, those are different forms of therapy, believe it or not. And I was like, wow. Well, no wonder I've come a long way. And I feel like my strengths, of course, are music. My strengths are my creativity. My strength is my optimism. Even though when I'm going through a rough time, I still manage to see the bright side, or try my best to see the bright side, or help other people see the bright side of their situation, even if they feel like there's no way out of their situation. That's just how I am. And yeah, I feel like those are my strengths. Well, some of them. I have a lot, and I don't want to give them all to you, or else we'll be here for longer than expected. But creativity, confidence in God, very optimistic, and my insecurities were, and sometimes still are. Sometimes I still have moments where I'm just like, eh. But we'll talk about that another time. But just know that we all have insecurities at some point, but we also have strengths as well. And don't let your insecurities outweigh your strengths. The third question is, what do you see in the mirror when you look at your reflection? I'm going to start with what I used to see and what I see now, because I feel like they go together. What I used to see was a tomboy who nobody liked and no one really loved unless it was my immediate family at the time, and a few of my extended cousins. They know who they are. I felt like I was alone. So when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see who God created me to be. I didn't